Welcome everyone to Small Business Power Hour. Today's episode is marketing strategy versus marketing tactics in today's social media content driven world. This is the April 2017 episode and today's April 19th. Now today's content we'll spend about 5 minutes doing the introduction about what is Small Business Power Hour, and then we'll spend about 45 minutes discussing why invest time and money in marketing. We'll talk about the main topic is marketing strategy versus marketing tactics, and why does it matter why is it important to identify both as two separate things. And then a little bit about content marketing versus social media, because I am more of a content marketing person than a social media person, but I'll talk to you about how they work together. And then we'll leave it open for Q&A. I will try to do a Q&A in the middle of the session to see if that works with people from the audience. We have about 50 people joining us live, and I'm sure a few hundred people will watch the video later on when we post it in YouTube. Now, what is Small Business Power Hour? It's marketing and growth tips for small business owners. We have this webinar series, and there's the link if you're joining it live. You don't need the link. You're going to get invitations automatically. We're building the website sbpowerhour.com, and then the Facebook group, you're going to have to search Small Business Power Hour. We don't have a quick URL yet because we literally just opened it, and we don't have enough people to have a custom URL. Anyway, the webinar series as planned would be every third Wednesday of every month at 4 p.m. Eastern. And it will be about 30 to 60 minutes long. I don't know. I'm not going to stay within the strict 1 hour strategy, but we'll see. Let's see if we can do a little bit shorter. Otherwise, I tend to go pretty long and in depth in the topic. So it's unlikely that we'll stay within 1 hour. We'll see. And basically what I want to discuss is tips, tricks, best practices on three main areas: strategy, marketing, and overall operation growth. A lot of it would be through the use of technology, because that's the age that we live in. But we'll also discuss, human resources, training, leadership. All these things will be open topics, and then I'll allow you guys to give me feedback about what are the topics you think would be interesting to cover or you would like for me to cover. About myself, I'm Hector Garcia. I'm a CPA based out of Miami, Florida. I am an accountant and a consultant. Most of the work that I do is with numbers. It is accounting. But when I'm engaged as a consultant, I tend to deep dive into marketing strategy and a lot of these things with some of my clients. However, I almost always come from the place of numbers, profitability, financial statements, that sort of thing. My email is hector@garciacpa.com. I'm pretty good at answering emails. If your emails are answerable, I will answer them. Otherwise, if they're really complex, I would prompt you to schedule some sort of a one-on-one appointment or something like that. Anyway, let's start with what we want to discuss, which is why invest in marketing. And now, most people, when they think of the word marketing, they think about creating awareness. Marketing so people know where I am, who I am, what I sell, what I can offer. That's what marketing is. And for most people getting started, that's what marketing is for. But a lot of people, once they get established, okay, and they don't really need to create the awareness per se. People pretty much know what they do, but maybe they have a different challenge. Maybe they have a lot of competition, or maybe people don't understand what is it the work that they do, or maybe they don't value it and they're not willing to pay what you're worth. Then marketing really becomes valuable with the context of increasing the value and increasing the prices. There are two things that are the most important value drivers of any business: marketing and innovation. Okay, what you do different, what you do that's new, the way that you can have an advantage over everyone else, that's innovation. And marketing is how you let people know that you're better or that you can provide what they need. So these are the two most important value drivers: marketing and innovation. Okay, so with the context of increasing prices, I believe marketing is a really important thing to do. The other reason why particularly I market, because I've done really well at letting people know who I am, what I do, mostly through these type of engagements, videos, blogs, social media. So people know who I am, or people know how to get to me when they need me. But what that has allowed me to do is that when I start getting clients that are sort of a pain in the butt, everybody has customers that are a pain in the butt. We pretty much get worried about firing them because we're going to have an income loss, because we don't know if getting rid of that client, we'll have another one in its place to replace that income. So a lot of times we end up working with people we don't want to work, customers that they're painful, and sometimes they're unprofitable, just because we're so afraid of getting rid of that client. So that's why I'm constantly marketing and I'm investing in marketing, is because I always want to only work with my ideal clients. And when the clients that are not ideal, or they become not ideal, because a lot of times the clients start great and then they become not ideal over time, I want to be able to get rid of them worry-free, because I know I've done enough marketing that I have a few people out the door just waiting for me to open capacity for them. And then when I have 3, 4, 5 new clients to choose from, I can pick the one that is cream of the crop, or the one that best fits my personal needs as a consultant, because I want to work with clients that I can learn and grow from. Okay, I don't want to work with clients that I do routine work, the stuff that I do every single time, that I can't provide consulting, that I can't provide value. I'm actually over those type of clients. I refer them out to other accountants that love that routine work, but I don't. I like the challenge. I like working with people that are going to challenge me as a consultant, and then I can really get satisfaction from solving somebody's problem. And that in turn turns into higher fees, I think, based compared to what other people are charging for the same level of work, just because I'm fully invested in my client as much as my clients are fully invested in me. So having that capacity to pick your clients and get rid of the ones you don't want, it's a really important reason for marketing. Another one is going to be attracting talent. I've spoken to many folks that have been working as a service practitioner, accounting, lawyer, doctors, whatever. And when I ask them, what is your biggest challenge? And I give them a bilateral question. What is your biggest challenge? Finding new clients or finding talent that can help you grow the new clients that you find? And interesting enough, I believe most people are expecting that the answer is going to be, no, the challenge is finding new clients. However, I find it more and more, especially with service professionals, with industries in which knowledge and expertise is really important. Not routine work like painting and construction work. We're talking about even construction work takes some skill. We're talking about professional services. Most people, that's why the answer, they say that my biggest challenge is not finding new clients, it's finding the talent that I need to be able to take on new clients. So think about that for a minute, and also think about, with the context of marketing, why that matters. So let's discuss that for a second. Why would you market to attract talent? Well, if we're talking about a truly talented person, what company do they want to work for? Do they want to work for a company that it's the same as everything else, or do they want to work for a company that stands out? A lot of people say that this is what the feedback that they get, and trust me, I felt like this before. It's really hard to find talent. Really hard to find talent. I'm sure you guys would agree. Really hard to find talent. But how much marketing are you doing for your talent? Think about that. Actually, let me run a polling question. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. What is harder, finding a new client or finding a star employee? Okay, so there goes the polling question. What is harder, finding a new client or finding a star employee? And I'll let you kind of tell me whether the questions that I've asked and the results that I've gotten from even my questions are hand in hand with the people here joining live. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you the results for that, so you can see from the 50 people that are attending live now, and 90% are accountants, what the general answer is. Okay, so we got about 80% of the answers in. Let me get a little bit more so we can get a little bit of a better sample size. Okay, I'll go ahead and end it now. We have about 85% of the votes. So I'm going to close the poll and share the results. So 73% said it's much harder to find the next star employee versus 28% finding new clients. So from that 28%, maybe you don't need an employee, maybe you don't have excess capacity for that employee, so maybe your head is not wrapped around that. But for that 73%, you know that you needed a good employee in order to take more work, or maybe the employees you had just have not been that good. So that being said, okay, so food for thought is, how much are you investing in marketing in order to attract the right talent? And then think about that star employee, quote unquote, what is that star talent worth? Because a great employee gives you more time to vacation, more worry-free time, the ability to take more clients without having to split yourself in so many directions. So I'm pretty sure you'll agree with me on that. So I think that was one of the most important insights I've learned last year in one of the conferences that I was asking these questions to some of my colleagues. Okay, so let's go on to the kind of the meat and potatoes of this, which is marketing strategy versus marketing tactics. And we're going to stay for the most part in a theoretical framework, and then I'll go ahead and throw some examples out there, and then I'll take some questions in if you want to ask some questions along the way. Okay, so marketing strategy. This is the high level overarching vision, the stuff that's beyond the people, beyond the president, beyond the owner of the company. This is the stuff that's really high level, and this pretty much dictates how marketing gets done. Okay, so that's really, really important, because what we actually do with marketing, it's our tactics. And our tactics need to be part of a strategy. So it's important to separate the two. The strategy, it's overarching. A strategy could be, get 10 new customers per year that are at least this much revenue, that are at least on 2 or 3 of these specific segments, right? That's your overall strategy. And in order for you to get there or achieve that, then you're gonna work with different tactics, and your tactics can change throughout the year. And you're gonna measure them and measure the results. And this could be a dynamic thing. We can change the tactics as we go. So the tactics are the specific practical things that we do every day. Writing a specific blog post to target a specific user or a specific customer, sending tweets with specific messaging, replying to emails of free questions that you take from people on the internet, outreaching to other bloggers that are not in your same industry, saying, hey, can I write into your blog, right? Working with, making appointments with new customers for free. All those little things that you do, changing the title of your video, changing the title of an article, your website, the title of a website, the keywords of a web page, all those things are the little strategies, and the tactics, and those can change, but it's important for you to stay or be able to stay within that strategy, so you never want to deviate from that original strategy. Now, let's do a little bit of a more deep dive. That was more the theoretical part. What are the components of strategy? Now, you can Google components of marketing strategy, and I'm sure you're going to find tons of things. From my perspective, I've broke them down into 3. We're going to have branding, positioning, and messaging. Branding is the promise that you make. Okay, where does your brand come from, and what do you promise to achieve when someone interacts with your brand? That's the brand. Okay, the brand is not just Hector Garcia CPA Accounting Services. That's just a name. The brand is the underlying qualities that you or your business has. In some cases, they're explicit, in some cases are implicit. For example, Apple. Okay, Apple has a strong brand. I don't think anyone would argue that Apple has a really strong brand. But has Apple ever verbally, explicitly told their customers what the brand is all about? Okay, you never see a commercial in TV that says Apple, great products, or Apple, quality products, or Apple, we solve your problems. It's always very abstract, okay? But within the brand, through their products, through their marketing, through their service, the promise that they keep to the user, it's I'm gonna buy a good product that's reliable, but they never have to say it, which is so amazing. You know, how a brand can have such a strong messaging that's implicit, right? Then we got the positioning. Positioning is your stake of the ground, okay? Positioning is where you stand and you don't move from, okay? So remember, when you stand for something, you have to stand against a whole bunch of things, okay? So if you say, I stand for this, you know, I stand for working with clients of this industry, we don't move from that. That's positioning. Or this is my price, you know, and I'm the most expensive, or I'm way up there, or I only price based on the value or whatever. That's my position. I don't move from there, okay? And that makes you unique. And that makes, when people are comparing to companies, to businesses, they're saying, well, this person's position here, this company's position there. And when you're grounded in your positioning, people are not confused, and they never conflate your positioning with anything else. Your positioning is what you are, what you stand for, okay? Really important. Companies like BMW, like, could BMW make less expensive cars? Probably. They probably can. Could they outsource a whole bunch of their parts to cheaper manufacturing plants in China or whatever? Yes, they probably could. But their positioning is the ultimate driving machine, which, by the way, that's part of messaging. We'll discuss that in a second. But you know, BMW's messaging is the ultimate driving machine, and their positioning is, we don't deviate from that. We make machines. We're an engineering company. We take our pride in that we're engineering first. Everything else goes second. That's why BMWs, a lot of them are nice, but when you compare them with other luxury cars, they don't have that many bells and whistles and shiny parts, because that's not what they market. They market the engine, the guts, the machine, the engineering. So that's their positioning. So the messaging is the ultimate driving machine. The positioning is they don't deviate from that. I hope that those things are clear. Now, messaging is how you tell the story about your company and your brand. You know, how you focus, right? The messaging has to be focused on the benefits that you identify in the benefits that customers derive from you, and how your positioning helps a specific group or subset of people. It is really, really important that your positioning is not, we help everybody, and the messaging is, we help everybody, everybody come. No, positioning helps you stay within a very narrow area. And then when you message it, you use the words that they understand, okay? So for example, if your positioning is, hey, I only deal with manufacturing plants that use this type of software and I do consulting for them, for example, your messaging needs to use the lingo that they would understand. You would say, hey, are you having trouble tracking your scrap in your accounting software? You know, any other industry would say scrap. You know, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. But when you're positioned to only deal with that industry, your messaging will come easier, because you would use the stuff that your clients will understand, and it implicitly, when you're always using their language, people are gonna say, you know what, that person or that company, it's an expert, subject matter expert on my particular industry or my particular needs. So that's how branding, positioning, and marketing all sort of go together. Now let's do a little bit deeper dive on branding. So most people, when they think about branding, it's the company name and the logo. Of course, that's your brand. But one thing I would suggest, be consistent, right? Don't use a name and a pseudonym and then conflate the two. If you're gonna have a brand name, use it all the time. If you're gonna pick a brand name that has a little bit of quirkiness. Now, a lot of people advise against quirkiness, because especially if you're in the professional services field. But what's nice about quirkiness is that it gives the brand personality. Okay, for example, if you are, let's say, a dentist, okay, and you have a particular talent. Let's say you know how to sing, and you are the singing dentist. Well, what that allows you to do, if you call yourself the singing dentist, it's, you know, every time the customer comes in, you sing hello to them when they come in, right? Hello, you know, whatever, you know, or you sing the procedure right before you do it. And I know this is way quirky and maybe in some cases borderline corny, but this stuff works. I mean, as a matter of fact, I'm going to show you an example. It's really amazing. I mean, it's one of those things that blows your mind. I'm going to search for singing dentist. Okay, so there is a singing dentist in UK. This is his YouTube channel, and this guy opened a YouTube channel like 2 years ago. If you see him, I don't know how old he is, but he looks like he's under 40. Okay, and I don't know, I'm not trying to compliment him or anything like that. And he's got one video in YouTube that has 800,000 views, where he's literally, you know, moving his eyebrows around like this, and then he starts singing about. Yeah, I'll leave it on for a second so you can see it. I don't know if you can hear the noise.
The dentist isn't your favorite place, and I know you don't want to go. Me and my nurse sitting here, we're wondering why you.
Anyway, he's singing about brushing your teeth and flossing or whatever, and a lot of times, you think, oh, that's quirky. But you know what? If you look at his Facebook page, which is even he's got even more views. This same video, which is him singing a song that's hot right now, it's one of the popular songs by Ed Sheeran. This video in Facebook, using Facebook videos, has 25 million views. Now, I don't know about his finances. I don't do his accounting. I don't know if his business grew or not. But I'm willing to bet that if 25 million people saw your video, and a whole bunch of people hit like, you're gonna get traffic. You're gonna get people asking you all that stuff. So it's really, really important. Really, really important that that you add a little bit of quirkiness to it. So I mean, that's just my take on that. Then also we have the purpose statement. So a lot of people think about the vision and the mission. This is sort of the old school way of thinking, vision and mission. But the purpose is most important. You know, so you can have a vision and a mission statement, they're very overarching, but the purpose is what keeps you grounded on what you do every single day. So for example, my mission and vision could be, let me give you an example, you know, help small businesses work most efficient through technology and tax strategy. Very, very broad, right? But my purpose would be even more. My purpose would be communicate with my clients every single day about areas of opportunities to improve in a daily basis on their technology efficiency. That would be a purpose, because with my purpose statement, and you can make that public, you can shout it from the rooftops, you can do a YouTube video about it, you can put it on your business card. If you have your purpose statement and it specifies what you do every single day, that for the purpose, right, of hitting that vision, hitting that mission, that gives you a lot of branding identity, and people follow through with that. Okay, so this is what I mean by identity, purpose, consistency, and having corporate personality or some quirkiness that people will like remember you by or identify you by, because a lot of times that's what stays top of mind. Remember that people think with the left side of the brain, right, or the right side, whichever side is the logical part. But people make decisions with the other side of the brain, that one that deals with the heart and emotions. So people always analyze with the analytical, logical side of the brain. But decisions are almost always emotional. This is why people get that gut feeling to not do something, that, you know, that everything seems logical, but you get that gut feeling that, oh, something doesn't seem right. That's that emotional part that actually helps you make the decision or not. And believe it or not, that emotional part reacts a lot quicker, a lot faster than the logical, analytical part. So you want to be able to reach people's hearts and people's emotional decision making through that personality, through that corporate identity. Now let's move on to positioning, the other area of marketing strategy. We have establishing a unique value proposition. This is a kind of an old term, but a lot of people just forget that this is something really, really important. If you're going to start a business or if you run a business, you need to be able to identify what makes your business, your service, or your people. So the product or service, or the people, what you do, the end result, what's unique, right? What would be your 10-second elevator pitch if your next potential best potential new client is in an elevator and you got 10 seconds where somebody says, hey, what's unique about what you do? How would you word that? Okay, a lot of times we can say, oh yeah, I'm a lawyer, I'm an excellent lawyer. That's not unique. I'm an accountant, I'm a great accountant. That's not unique. You have to be very specific on why you're unique. You can say, you don't have to start by saying I'm unique, but a unique positioning statement says, I teach everything that I learn. I publish it, I put it on YouTube, I put it on websites, I put it in my blog. So everything that I learn, someone can learn. And then if they feel they want to learn more from me, they can reach me. That's a unique positioning. Not a lot of people do that. Most people want to keep those cards to themselves and say, you know what, I really don't want to give away what I know. But my unique positioning, Hector Garcia's unique positioning, is everything that I learn, I'm eager to make it public. Why? Not because I'm shooting myself in the foot. It's because that's my thing. That's my brand. That's my position. My position is, man, this guy is transparent. This guy's honest, right? If he knows it, he's going to tell you that he knows it. And if he doesn't know it, that's it. So that's really unique. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the polling question and share the results. Now, almost 80% spend less than an hour a week in marketing. Now, I don't want to tell you that that's right or that's wrong. I did say at the beginning why I said important to invest in marketing. So from the people that are within that practically nothing to less than an hour a week, from those people, let me ask you a question. Just put it in the chat box. Based on what I discussed so far, is just put yes or no. Is it nudging you to spend a little bit more? I just want to know whether there's a few people. Just put it in the chat box. Are you starting to think that you should spend a little bit more just with what we covered so far? Okay, there's about 3-4 people. Thanks for answering. But I'm not saying just from a conceptual concept. I'm saying that actually wanting to carve out time for it, because you gotta carve out time for it. That's really important. Okay, so let me close the poll and let's talk about the other area of positioning here, which is define what you stand for. Something that's really important. For example, I'm a conservative accountant, or I like to call myself a conservative accountant, right? And some people have this term of an aggressive accountant, a conservative accountant. And most of the times when they talk about conservative or aggressive, they're talking about how they perceive certain deductions that the IRS may not perceive as deductible. I market myself as a conservative accountant. So I go out there and tell people, if you want to do work with me, if you want to do tax work, I'm not going to help you cheat. But obviously nobody says that. But I'm not going to be aggressive on the position that you take. If it's truly not deductible, I'm going to tell you up front, it's not deductible. Now, that in itself could be bad marketing, because obviously less and less people are going to want to work with an accountant that potentially will make them pay more taxes if they know other accountants are willing to be maybe a little bit more flexible. And I am flexible, but everything within the law. But by saying that I'm a conservative accountant, I'm going to weed out the clients that may put me in a bad position. And believe it or not, the people that want conservative accountants, they pay more for their services. It is absolutely unbelievable. You would think that someone that's going to hire an aggressive accountant that's going to save him money in taxes, it's willing to pay the accountant even more money. It's unbelievable. So that positioning of being a conservative accountant, helping someone get numbers that make sense and protecting them against having frivolous positions in a tax audit, people find that even more valuable. Now, some people, I'm willing to bet that I've lost a lot of clients, potential clients, because I said that up front. Hey, I'm conservative, right? So that's kind of like, that's an important piece of what you stand for. And really, if you stand for that, make sure that you don't ever deviate from that. The other thing is, you it is part of what you stand for, is instead of being known by the clients you have, you kind of want to be known by the clients you don't have. And that's, I know that's hard to digest. What I'm saying is, the clients you say no to, the customers that you say no to, the type of clients that approach you to bid and you're saying, that's not my positioning, that's not where I want to be, that's not the type of client that I want to serve, or that's not the type of work that I want to do. That says a whole lot more about who you are, who your business is, what your brand stands for, than the clients that you actually have. So you want to be known by the clients you don't have. That's what marks good positioning. The other part of positioning, and this is a very interesting one, is your business model itself. Your business model can affect your positioning quite a bit. For example, if your business model is, I don't leave my house, let's say that's a business model. I work from my computer, from the internet, my microphone and my webcam. That's my work. By the way, that's not who I am. I do leave my house. But if that's my business model, then people are you're going to only attract the type of clients that are okay with that, or that like that, or find value in that. And in some cases, they think they get more bang for the buck because you don't have the overhead. Let me ask you a question. Amazon. If you were to say, if somebody were to ask you, why do you think Amazon has better prices? And I think most people would say, well, it's because of their business model. They don't have a brick and mortar. They don't have the traditional overhead that a retail store would have. Therefore, they can pass through that value. Okay, that's fair. Now, because they're selling a product that's comparable, and people most people don't care where they get the product as long as they get the product they want. That's going to be mostly about price. But let's talk about a service, like a professional service. Let's say, for example, you were to bring someone that's in a very large construction company to do some remodeling in your house. And you tell them, give me the best possible price. And they give you a price, let's say it's $10,000. And then you find another guy that's kind of like a small contractor, works from home, has no overhead, goes to your house and gives you the same price. Think about this. You got a huge company that gives you one price. You got one guy that gives you the same price. How does positioning affect how you value what one person does or the other? So, because one person's business model is we're big, most big people are heavily insured. However, they hire low pay people, right? So you kind of think about that. So you're going to have to start trading off, am I going to get the top quality people for that job? Or am I going to get, but I'm going to get some protection versus I got this guy that has practically no overhead. He's making a lot of profit with my job. So is he going to put a lot of heart and soul into the work? Is he going to get high quality people or maybe high quality materials because he's got more room for growth? So think about that. Think about how that changes you as a consumer, your perspective of value, because their business model puts that service professional in a position. And in some cases, people will perceive it one way or the other. So it's really important that if your business model goes hand in hand with your marketing strategy and with your messaging, that you actually let people know what your business model is as part of your positioning strategy. Okay. And then lastly, pricing. How much you charge and how you price is important. Matters, and it puts you in a position. So for example, let's say you have the two service providers, they both charge you the same thing, but one you have to pay 100% upfront, one you can pay way after the job is done. Now, some people would prefer to pay after, but for some folks, the ones that are getting paid upfront, they value that because they're saying, man, this person is very busy. If he doesn't get paid, he's not going to do the work. He's not desperate. Therefore, I need them more than they need me. I better pay them up front. So again, a lot of psychology plays plays into this whole thing. Marketing is kind of half a science and half psychology. So it's important for you to like kind of acknowledge that. And most of the great marketing books and the great people that talk about marketing, most of it is industrial psychology or social psychology, where, how do consumers act? How do they perceive things? So that's kind of an important piece. Pricing, the price itself, but how you price changes your positioning and the perception of value that people have. Okay, so let's go into the message. Now, as I mentioned before, the message is the story, is their narrative. In this narrative, a couple of things are important. Why you're in business is really, really important, okay? There's a famous book called Start with the Why by Simon Sinek that helped start this whole movement. And this movement already existed for years. There always had been why-based businesses, people that were in business because of a why, but nobody's really been able to put it in easy words like start with the why. So figure out why you're in business and communicate that, message that, because why you're in business a lot of times helps your customers, attracts your customers. Okay, for example, Tom's shoes. Tom's shoes, they're really in business to sell shoes. I don't think anyone would argue that, but they said, or the part of the messaging is, we're in business because we want to put a shoe on every child in the world that doesn't have any shoes. Tom's, T-O-M-S, look them up. That's why they're in business. They're in business to put shoes on feet of poor children. That's why they're in business. So they sell shoes to the rest of the world. They make a whole bunch of profit, and then part of the profit goes to make shoes just for those kids. Now, that's not just social responsibility and that sort of thing. That's the why, and they communicated the why, and I would argue that's one of the reasons why they've been so successful. Now, staying on the shoe example, you look at companies like Zappos, Cappos. Zappos is a huge shoe reseller, the biggest on the internet, and their story and their purpose is, we deliver happiness. Okay. That's the messaging. No, they deliver shoes, not happy. Technically, they deliver shoes, not happiness, because their messaging and positioning both together is, we deliver happiness. They are obsessed about customer service. If you got the wrong size, no questions asked. They send you 3 other sizes until you get the right one, and then send them all back. Okay, I mean, the customer service that they have is amazing. It is incredible. And that's part of their messaging is, we deliver happiness. If you're not happy, we are not happy, right? Although we're just a shoe online website, but our purpose is happiness, not shoes. So because they stay on purpose of happiness and they message it, they let people know about it. Also, customers have a higher expectation. If you buy a shoe from Payless Shoe Store, you're not really expecting to walk in and get happiness from your shoe purchase. But when you go to Zappos, you will have that expectation, and that may affect your level of expectation you have as a customer. So obviously, your infrastructure to be able to deliver on that message is really, really important as well. So also the tone and voice, not just the communication, what you say, but how you say it. Okay, putting in a newspaper, we deliver happiness, that has some context. Putting in a Super Bowl ad, we deliver happiness, that has some context. When people call your 800 number and the first thing they say is, welcome to Zappos, we deliver happiness, that has a different context. So where you say it, where the message is said, it's part of the tone and voice. Obviously, tone and voice is also how you say it, who's saying it. Okay, so for example, if you get a celebrity that's known to be grumpy, let's just say, throwing an example out there, they're known to be a grumpy person, and they're the spokesperson to We Deliver Happiness. Well, that may be against message, but at the same time, it's quirky enough where people will get it, so that it actually kind of works both ways. But I hope that that makes sense in terms of what tone and voice is. And as I mentioned, where the brand communicates matters, and being able to communicate the positioning explicitly is important. but also like Apple has implicit communication. I don't know how they did it. I don't know what the secret was, but they implicitly communicated the quality and people buy into that. Okay, let's take another quick break here. And let's do how much, let's say, how much money do you invest in marketing? And I would like to know as a percentage of sales. That would help us give us some context, because some companies are bigger than others, some practitioners are bigger than others. Okay, so 77% of you spend no more than 1% of the revenue or less than $500 a month, and then we'll start moving for that. Now, that was interesting that there was a little bit of a gap, and then some folks are spending over 20% of their revenue in marketing. Now, when I first got started, my first 2 or 3 years, it was over 20% of my marketing. Then I would say between my third to my fifth year, it was between 10 and 20, and now I'm close to 5. And that happens over time. But what ends up happening is, I let my gas off the metal on marketing for a while, and then it was difficult to find talent, to grow my practice. And when I started doing stuff in YouTube, people really started kind of admiring the work that I do, and hiring people became easier, because people that you hire are proud to work with a person like you. So that has helped get some talent. So having marketing for talent is obviously always really important. Anyway, all right. So let's do some examples of messaging. So think about this, okay? Messaging using price and value. So how about this? We don't mind being the most expensive compared to our competitors, as long as we know we provide the most value. It's extremely simple messaging, and that ties into a lot of things. It ties into your positioning, it ties into your focus on value. I don't want to discuss too much value pricing. That's a whole other really deep concept. But in a nutshell, that's an important one. A messaging where you're okay saying, hey, I'm okay being expensive. I'm not going to lower my price. I'm not going to enter into a price war. But I know that I'm going to deliver the most value, so I'm comfortable with that. Okay, so that could be a good messaging strategy. I'm not saying that everybody should say the same thing. I'm just saying if you want to do that, that could be a good messaging strategy. Okay, and that's both implicit and explicit. Okay, that's because by being expensive, the implicit context is that maybe you're better. Okay, let's do the next example. Okay, let's say, for example, there was an ad in the back cover of Watch magazine, and the ad says, "We understand that your time is money. We'll handle your accounting and taxes so you can focus your time in what matters." Now, I just made that up. That's not like a real ad, but I'm sure there's an ad that says that at some point, and that makes sense because you are tying into the tone and voice of the distribution channel for marketing, which is Watch magazine, and anybody that buys Watch magazine, would like this time pun, right? And on top of that, there's also some underlying context here, which is, I'm sure it's not cheap to advertise in Watch magazine, and people that like watches, that can afford to buy multiple watches and need a magazine to tell them about watches, they typically have more disposable income than the rest. So the overall context here is, hey, this accounting service will be full service because this is a sort of a high demanding clientele, and it's probably going to be expensive, right? So notice how there's the explicit messaging is, we'll handle your accounting so you can focus your time on what matters. That's the explicit messaging. But the implicit messaging is, hey, it's a simple message and we're advertising in Watch magazine. So, that's just an idea. Okay? All right. Now, let's see some implicit statements. How about this? Let's set up an appointment to see if you're the right fit for our firm. Now, that's just a statement, and a lot of people don't pay much attention on on the words that were chosen. But in that messaging, we use one killer word, which is we said, if. We as a service provider said, let's see if you're the right fit. That means we're going to spend some time, invest some time on figuring out whether or not we want to work with you. And there's a possibility that we're not going to work with you, or you're going to have to fight for our time as your service provider. Okay. Now, brands like Tiffany are known for this, right? No one ever goes into a Tiffany thinking that they're going to want to they want to go into a price war or discount or price match. Tiffany has created that brand that says, hey, if you're walking in here, you need us more than we need you, so we're going to snub the heck out of you. And unless you come with a Black American Express, we're probably not even going to listen to you. And again, I'm not sure if that's good or bad. That's just a thing. Okay? So really, really important. Now, there's a contrast about this, and somebody's saying in the comment here, for example, Harold is saying, we don't like that statement because it makes it all about you, not about the client. But that's true. That's true. There are some negative connotations on taking this approach. I'm not saying that this is good or bad. I'm saying this is a tactic, right? This is a tactic. And if this is your strategy, then that's a tactic you can use. So I'm not encouraging you or discouraging you from using this language. I'm just saying that if you're going to use it, make sure that it's part of your strategy. That's kind of the point I'm trying to make here. So brand messaging and position all tied together with these things. Okay, for example, I'll tell you my personal brand messaging and positioning. Okay, so I position myself to be in YouTube. I position myself to be all over the web. That means that I'm open to any business anywhere in the world. I am not niche. Okay, I am not specializing on a particular industry. I am not niche. I've never said I'm niche. Now, I happen to know a lot about construction, a lot about about inventory. I happen to know a lot about reporting. So companies that need that type of stuff gravitate towards working with me, but that was never my niche. My positioning is I am available to work with anyone, anywhere in the world. But another part of my positioning is, hey, I share my knowledge up front. So I have real high expectations from you coming in. I don't want you coming in asking me, basic questions. If you're not doing your research, don't waste your time with me, because I'm gonna straight to go in a high level. And also, I believe I'm expensive. I don't think I'm the most expensive consultant out there, but I believe I'm expensive. And I believe that when clients come to you and they come to me and I give them a price, I'm not expecting them to say, wow, that's expensive. I really want the ones that can't afford me to not even contact me, right? Or I think you can email me, but like to want to pay $50 an hour to work with me, it's to waste your time. So that's two things that I've created in my messaging and positioning, my brand all together. So when the clients that come in tend to be the ones that appreciate my time and are willing to pay, let's call it top dollar. I don't know, for some people I'm cheap, right? Because I solve a lot of issues. But that's how I've taken what I do, how I do it, and created a brand around it and tied all three things together. All right, let me ask the last polling question here, which is, and I know we stayed in a very sort of high level in this session. We could have gone a lot deeper and stuff like that. I like to go deep in specific, Facebook, LinkedIn, blogging, YouTube. I like to go deep into these things. But again, this is our very first of this webinar. This is kind of an experiment. All right, so let's go. Okay, so next month, the proposed topic is content marketing. So I'm gonna go through the social media platforms that I use, blog, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I'll compare them all. I'll do some examples on specific tactics that I use or I've seen other people use through the years. We will be as specific as we can within this time. If there's any other questions, I'll open it up for that. Otherwise, watch for other things that I'm involved with. Tomorrow, there's a webinar called QB Power Hour at 12 p.m. Just go to qbpowerhour.com. It's about QuickBooks Online accountant practice management. So if you don't know about QB Power Hour and you're a QuickBooks person, trust me, be there. I'm a QuickBooks person, so a lot of stuff I do is about QuickBooks. Then on May 17th, we'll be doing QuickBooks Enterprise user permissions. For that, go to enterprise.expert. We'll be doing on May 3rd at 2 p.m. Eastern, we'll be doing Excel Power Hour, which is a webinar series. This will be the third episode. This is 2017. That'll be the third episode, and I'll do a deep dive into text functions, which are things in Excel that have to do with changing. As you can tell, I'm all over the place here. Excel, QuickBooks, marketing. And then the last one is my podcast. I have a podcast. So if you listen to podcasts, just search for my name or Advisors Corner. That podcast has about 6 episodes, and the podcast is more about this generic sort of small business leadership, marketing, strategy topics. I don't talk about accounting or QuickBooks or Excel or any of those things in my podcast. The podcast is actually kind of a complement to this webinar because it's all about being a small business advisor and things that I've learned as an advisor. Okay, let's see. I don't see any other open questions here. I think I set them all. So that's it. So thank you very much for joining us. If you're going to be in QB Power Hour tomorrow, I'll see you there tomorrow. If you're going to be on next month's episode of Small Business Power Hour, I'll see you in a month. Thank you.